Okay, we're live. Welcome.
Welcome everybody. All right, but you can hear me. Yeah, we hear you. We're all from Brooklyn, so we can hear you. Welcome to the Community Board 11 Planning and Zoning Committee public hearing. Your opportunity to hear about the upcoming matter and to ask questions and be heard. I'd like to introduce my co-chair, Laurie Windsor. She's also the first vice chair of the community board. Also, members of our committee are here. Thank you for coming, members of the community board and members of the public. So there are two matters on tonight, but it's one project, so I will read both of them into the record, but we're not going to bifurcate the presentation. There'll be one presentation by Mr. Goldstein. So for the record, the reading of it is the BSA Council numbers 20202BZ and 2023-4BZ. This is located at 2170 McDonald Avenue, lot number 7087, lot 34. The applicant seeking a variance to allow the enlargement of the existing building contrary to the rear yard and the other surrounding yard requirements along the district boundary, which coincide with the rear lot lines of two adjoining zoning lots. The other matter, BSA calendar number 20235BZ at 321 FUT, next door. Lot, same block, lot 7087, lot 46. Herein the applicant seeking a variance and a special permit to allow construction of a 5-story building and a cellar. That's a Group 3 school building in an M1 zone, contrary to use. You can use them for trade schools and other things now, but this would not be for that. I'll let you speak on it, it would be for students. The variance also deals with floor area, height, setback, and sky exposure plane. So we're going to have the presentation, then you'll have a chance for Q&A and input, and we'll call on you. So at this point, I'm going to ask Mr. Jay Goldstein, who's the attorney, the applicant's representative, to make the presentation, and then we'll have thank you, Mr. Goldstein.
Thank you very much. I can try and use it, or if you can't hear me, we'll try and use the microphone.
Is there a visual?
There will be a visual. First, I'd like to thank everyone for having us this evening. With me tonight, I have members from the school, as mentioned. We're here on behalf of Magen David Yeshiva, which is already existing at this location, and we're seeking to expand the school, larger school, to accommodate the growth that the school is seeing. With me tonight is Mr. Ronnie Tawil, who is a community activist, and I'll ask him to speak, as well as Ms. Data, who's one of the administrators of the school, who can also speak to the school, give you a little bit of the background of the school, and then we'll get into the application and request before us tonight. So I'll ask Mr. Tawil to come up and speak.
Thank you, Jay. Greetings to Marnie and the committee members that I just met. Thank you very much for taking the time. At the risk of disclosing my age, I've lived for 7 decades in the Gravesend section of Brooklyn, so I can call it home. I went to PS 215, went to Cooley Junior High School, went to Brooklyn Tech, Brooklyn College, and City College, so I'm homegrown. For 5 of those decades, I've been a community advocate. I work as a volunteer in many organizations that need assistance in helping things cut forward, and that's what I kind of do as a volunteer in addition to my business career. I've also happened to be co-chair of the Sephardic Community Federation, which is our political advocacy group. We develop relationships with elected officials so we can have our issues heard and be able to help them adjudicate them. I happen also to be a member of Community Board 15, your neighborhood community board. I'm service first vice chair. I'm also chair of the Zoning Variance Committee, so I know the effort that you have to go through to make this happen. I appreciate your time. About 20 years ago, I was called upon to help Magen David Yeshiva build and develop that building that you see on McDonald Avenue. It's a beautiful addition to the neighborhood. I should tell you before that was a junkyard, it was a manufacturing facility. It was really urban blight, basically, and we managed to improve it in such a beautiful way. And we started in late 2000. It's not enough? We started in late 2000. It's hard to have a microphone right here. I'll speak like that. We started late 2000. It was a long process, very complicated, and we moved in September 2004. I remember being there for the grand opening ceremony. It was a joyous time for our neighborhood, and I would say it's been a really positive addition to the neighborhood. We're hoping to be able to expand the growing needs of the student body and the parent body. Once again, I've been called upon to be an advisor and advocate for the new expansion that they have, and I'm here to do that. I want to talk about schools. Schools, obviously, on drop-off and pickup, lead to lots of traffic. Can't help it. Every school has that. It's not unique to this school. At PS 215, for example, if you look at PS 215, go down East 2nd, East 3rd Street at drop-off time or pickup time, you see it's traffic. It happens for 10 or 15 minutes, and then it moves on, and US also. So schools generate traffic, but it's temporary. They're only there 8 or 9 months a year. It's not like a whole year round. And it's something that we want to suggest. Know that it's going to add a little more traffic, but we're going to deal with it because we have staggered pickups and drop-offs. Also, you know, some people say, well, the school offers a schoolyard. Well, I want to let you know that we work very hard to work with the Parks Department and our City Councilman Mark Traeger to develop McDowell Avenue Park, where we have greatly enhanced a 3-phase project where the park is going to be greatly enhanced. So the school has helped enhance the neighborhood by using also the park. So we want to ask the committee's indulgence to help us get what we need for the expanding needs of the school. We really appreciate your indulgence. We're asking for a very modest increase, and we hope that you'll be able to see your way clear to do it. Thank you very much for your time.
I'll ask now Ms. Davis from the after school. She's one of the administrators for the Child Center.
Hi, how are you this evening? It's a pleasure to speak to all of you. I wanted to share with you how the school has grown over the past 10 to 15 years tremendously. As you know, it's a community school, and we come back and we're alumni, and then we get married and we have children, and we come back to the community school. We believe very much in the community, we believe very much in our students, and something that's going on now, thank God, is that we're growing. The building that we have right now does not meet Megan-David's needs. And thank God the past few years we got approved for 3KA and UPK, and with that come specific requirements and guidelines. So some of those guidelines are classroom sizes, some of those guidelines are X amount of indoor playtime, and the current building that we have right now just does not accommodate the needs of the community and the requirements of the state and the city. That's one. Another thing is that we all believe in children, and we all believe in education and the growth of our community. And we have very, very young learners, and some of their needs, we need early intervention. 1 out of 3 of our children, of our students, have needs, whether it be OT, PT, speech, and we need extra spaces to accommodate those needs. Besides that, we do not have a library, we do not have a big indoor play space, we do not have a sensory gym, we do not have any opportunity to break out for children to gather together, to mingle, to play different games, to use sensory experiences. With technology coming in, there's so many things that we all want to give our children, and right now, 2170, while it may be a beautiful building, we've outgrown it. We've outgrown it, and we're asking the community to help us meet our children's needs.
Thank you again for having us tonight and for speaking to us. So the building in question that we're here to talk about is the Early Childhood Center. As mentioned, Magen-David Yeshiva, which has been around since actually 1947, I believe, has 3 divisions, mainly an elementary school, a high school, and the Early Childhood Center, which is the focus of our application. The Early Childhood Center is currently located in a 2-story building at 2170 McDonald Avenue, and the school purchased the corner building, which is the 3-story building that you see, at the corner of Avenue T and McDonald Avenue. And as mentioned, the building itself doesn't meet the needs of current education requirements, doesn't meet the needs of the students, doesn't meet the needs of the school as it continues to see growth and want to provide increased services to their students. So the proposal before you today would be to take this lot, which is an irregularly shaped lot. You can see it highlighted in red. It has 265 feet of frontage on McDonald Avenue and 56 feet of frontage along Avenue T. The proposal would be to increase the size of that building to provide additional classrooms, a library, an indoor gym, the sensory gym, which I can tell you from my own experience from my own children is something that's invaluable at that young age. This building that we're proposing would allow us to do that. The proposal though requires a number of waivers from the city that was mentioned before. One of which is the rear yard waiver, one of which would be a height waiver, and the other would be, most importantly, the use waiver, because as you mentioned, the school is not permitted as of right. However, this building was already approved as a school. It was approved by this board and approved by BSA, and we are seeking to expand that use and continue the use of this property as a school. The building itself, the lot itself is 18,870 square feet, and the proposal would be to really create one unified building from the corner into the and connect it to the existing building. The cellar level would be a teacher's lounge, a warming kitchen, and a lot of mechanicals, as well as a refrigerated trash room to handle all of the trash that a school accumulates. It would be held in the building and taken out right before pickup. The first floor of the building, which is the existing first floor of ours, as well as the corner property, will be enlarged. The existing building is really a T-shape, so the two corners that you see along the longer portion of the building would be filled in to add an additional 4 classrooms at this floor, plus you would have 2 classrooms on the first floor. The second floor would have a library, and then we would add, again, filling in those T's at the second floor, and another classroom in the corner property. The third floor, which we're not proposing to go higher on the existing building because the existing building physically can't handle us going up. So the third floor would have 2 classrooms in the new portion of the building, but it would connect to the roof of our building to allow for outdoor play area. We would have fenced-in outdoor play area for use during the school day. Again, outdoor play area being one of the requirements for the Department of Health for their permits for early childhood centers. The 5th floor would be really a multi-purpose room, but it would be an indoor play area for the kids, or a larger room to have assemblies and meetings and things of that nature. And then the 5th floor would have the dimensioned sensory gym. The sensory gym has built-in furniture, built-in equipment for the therapists, where they can come in and provide services to those children, where they'll be pulling them out of class, bring them in these rooms, and have all this equipment that's built in so that they don't have to carry it around, they don't have to move it, and it really provides an excellent level of therapy that these students can't otherwise get. The building itself, the 5th, above the roof of that building would not be any use, no occupancy. So the building itself is being proposed to have 45,000 square feet. The second floor, the 2-story building will be maintained at 2 stories and filled in at the back, and we're proposing a 5-story addition on the corner of the property. The layout of the building was as explained. We'll have classrooms and increase the number of classrooms. At completion, we'll have 37 classrooms plus 2 gyms, a sensory gym, and a library, all of which will serve the student population that we currently have and the need that we see and the growth that we see for these students. As mentioned, the hours of operation are approximately 9:15 in the morning until 3:15 in the afternoon. Arrival and dismissal is staggered so as to try and alleviate the mass on these streets. We do work with the parents to have, we don't have busing service because the children are too young, but we do have van service that we pay for, that the parents pay for. Holds about 14 kids per van, and we attempt to encourage that as the years go on so that we have less private cars and more vans coming to the property. But we do have no parking signs along the frontage of McDonald Avenue during school days, and we believe that the frontage allows us to accommodate the growth and accommodate the parents so that we can work to continue to perfect our arrival and dismissal to try and avoid any interference with the neighborhood. If there are any questions on this, I'm happy to answer them.
How high is this going to be? I live right behind the proposed extension, 189. How high will it be?
Okay. I'm happy to answer it. I just want to clear with the
That's
community
fine. You
board.
can take your questions,
Okay.
including ours, if you have.
No problem. Usually the community board wants me to answer
Oh.
them first, and that's why I
Of course.
asked. The building has proposed.
Ask that question.
I'm
How
sorry?
high will it be? I think you said 5 stories,
It's
right?
gonna be 5 stories, 58 feet. As of right, it can go up 3 stories for 35 feet, and then it would have to set back. So since this is a corner lot, if we're required to set back, it would really kill the floor plate. So we're asking for waivers of the setback at the front of the building at Avenue T and Avenue F and McDonald, so that we can have larger floor plates.
Does this alter the entrances where students are gonna come in? There'll be more students. Are the
Right.
entrance still gonna be on McDonald Avenue, or are they gonna be on MUT, are they gonna be late this street?
Right, so it's a great question. It's actually one of the points that I think benefits the arrival and dismissal, and something I forgot to mention, I apologize. But currently you have 1, 2, 3 entrances. You have the main lobby with the vestibule, you have the indoor play area, and you have that secondary stairway next to that play area. So at arrival and dismissal, the students are brought down and staged in those areas, and we have parents and we have teachers and staff on the street in contact with people in the building through WhatsApp or other chat methods. And when a parent or a van or a carpool shows up, they call them out. When someone's walking home, their guardian is there, they call them out, and the student is brought out. With the addition of the corner property, we gain an extra 2 entrances. So with all of those, you'll see one entrance over here, there's a doorway with a hallway, right next to the playgroup, and then there's a stair A over there as well.
That's on MUT, it's not.
That's the corner of Avenue T and McDonald. That's where the proposed change would be to the first floor, to all the floors really. The existing building on McDonald is not changing. So the existing entrances on McDonald won't change, but we're adding 2 additional entrances to facilitate more people being brought in and dismissed.
Privilege and follow up on that quickly, just to start with, you talked about the roof use, I just want to be clear, is that in the new addition, or is it roof use across the entire property?
There would be roof use only in 2 small areas on the existing 2-story building. So we're not proposing a roof use on the 5th. The roof use on the existing would be surrounded by a acoustic barrier fence, 10-foot fence, so that it wouldn't impact the neighbors through the use of that property. So that rooftop area.
I have several questions. First of all, I am a teacher, and I also started in early childhood, so I understand the needs. My dilemma is, because I've used JCH, you know, they have a rooftop. My son had gone to a preschool there. Across the street, there was a Magna David High School, is that right? On Bay
Further
Parkway?
down the block.
And, I mean, how many, on Bay Parkway, right? And we have, my only fear is more for the students. When you have, you're building up and you have a roof, you've got the overhead train track. It's not a real safe place, only because I'm thinking, wouldn't it be better if you bought property where there's a little more green space and you're on the first floor and the little ones can play? Why do you want to do something up so high? Or where it could be a little dangerous, because my son got hurt on the rooftop, honestly. I never sued, but it was really not a safe place. I don't believe it. You could do something where you could have a green roof, where you're covering it for them to explore, perhaps gardening, planting. That's very good.
So
That might,
that can be an answer. That can be a proposal for the use. The use itself, though, we did set it back from the train track. It's not supposed to be at the front of the building. It's supposed to be towards the back of the building in the 2 wheels. And we're having an acoustic fence, which is basically a fence with an acoustical barrier that wraps around the fence so that it shields it from noise. But more importantly than all that, the rooftop use won't get approved unless the Department of Environmental Protection says that it's safe for the children to use. If they determine that the subway is too loud, then we won't have the rooftop, and we'll have to go use the park across the street.
How high is that?
It's a 10-foot fence per DOH. I'm sorry?
Are there any other buildings 5 stories?
Yeah, the building further down on McDonald, there's a 7-story or 8-story school that rises to, I think it's 83 feet. And then on the other corner, directly across Avenue S, they just rezoned to allow C44L, which will permit an 8-story building as well at 4.6 FAR.
There are no tall buildings on Avenue T from Stillwell to Ocean Parkway, with the exception of one small development on West 4th Street. So it's outside the character of the neighborhood. So let's make that clear. Did I get my question answered? How high will that building be behind my house?
Yeah, it's 58 feet.
How many?
58 feet
58 feet.
to the top of the avenue.
And you propose going directly to the property line?
No, where's your property? Behind the
189
avenue?
Lake Street, behind this, the
Behind the
corner on the
existing
left.
building?
I'm talking about the smaller building, well, the lower building.
Behind the existing building, we're proposing to keep it at 2 stories, 24 feet.
No. You're proposing to build another 2 stories, what is now a schoolyard,
We're proposing, right, that's gonna be 24 feet to match the school.
24 feet high,
Correct,
plus a fence for the schools.
correct.
So 34 maybe.
Fence will be pulled back.
So behind my property, instead of a schoolyard, I have 34-foot wall. Do you think that would diminish the value of my property, honestly?
I can't speak to value
Of
of
course
property,
not.
but
You didn't go to CUNY Law School, did you? I helped you start
My
it.
property is 311 Avenue T. I'm on the edge of your playground. How close is that going to be to
so
my
I
property? You have that brick wall there lining both our properties.
do you happen to know your lot number? Which lot is it? Do you have?
I'm 49.
You're 49, so the building will be 20 feet behind the 20 foot behind your property, that's where the building.
Well, right now there's a brick wall that's up against
So
the
it's gonna be,
porch.
it's basically gonna be 1 story on top of that.
It's going to be the same height.
The same height of the.
So that wall is going to be right up to that brick wall that's there now.
That's the proposal.
What about on the yard side?
No, which yard side, I'm not sure what you.
The playground is directly behind.
Correct, playground will be behind you, that's gonna be 2 stories.
Now,
To the
when
right of
you-
you will be in between your house and the garage, it'll be a 5-story building.
Now, when facing McDonald Avenue, how close is that building going to be to my fence?
Facing, it'll be on our lot line too, so it's not gonna be, it's gonna be by your garage,
Am I going to have a wall right there?
all over the property.
So it's going to be close in.
It'll be, just the roof.
So again, once, what's going to happen to our property? Who's going to buy that house? Locked in by brick walls.
Historically, when she was going, the property values have gone up. I understand your concerns, I don't have the answer for it.
Any guarantee?
There's no guarantee. I don't have a guarantee, but historically that has been the trend. Especially in this neighborhood.
Brick walls.
In this neighborhood, that's been the trend, so with the development of the schools.
Can you just clarify where the yards are right now?
So,
Are
behind.
they the openings of the keys, because what? Yeah. I was a little trouble understanding.
Scroll down that,
Do you have an aerial shot of the
Scroll up.
area? Do you have an aerial shot of the area, not like this, but an actual aerial shot?
I can get you one in a minute, but if I.
We're on Google Maps right now, just makes it easier to
You
understand.
see these 2 classrooms? If you look at the screen right now, these 2 classrooms,
And
these 2 classrooms.
Those are the additions, right?
Those are the additions.
And what's there right now?
It's open air.
Is it used?
Playground.
It's playgrounds, 2 open playgrounds that we're trying to replace.
So now you're gonna put, again, 2 stories there in each corner, and then roof use on top of just those 2 areas, right?
So the exact location of those areas is to be determined by DEP, as I mentioned.
Okay.
We would have, or we're proposing to have, we're proposing to have,
But the roof use would be like roughly the same area as the yard is currently?
yes.
Okay, so,
If I, yeah, please.
Yes.
okay, can you scroll to that first, graphic
Which one?
where it shows the lot numbers?
Sure.
Use it, zoning.
It's like the first one you showed.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, now explain to me like I'm a 2-year-old. This blue square is your whole, proposed?
Our lot is these blue ones are the properties across the street, nothing to do with the project. But what is that big blue square? That big blue square is just a notation by the city, I don't know what it means.
Okay, so
It's just confusing.
I'm
It's
seeing
a
lots.
tax, this is the city tax map. I didn't.
Okay, I'm seeing lot 66, 65, 64, 62 in the encasement area, right? Is that lot 66? Is that where it starts?
63, 62, 60, 59, 57, 56, 55, 54, 53. But I would remind you that the existing building already has a large large T-shape, so the middle properties already
I'm
back.
trying to ask you about the lots specifically. What's the
Yeah,
lots
I'm explaining.
specifically?
So-
Okay, can you enlarge that for us?
It'd be helpful if you showed the existing floor plan and show that T-shaped building.
Well, let's do the lots first.
Okay, do the lots first.
Okay. So there is lot 66, is that correct? No, I am not. What lot specifically?
Can you pull it up?
Okay, so,
Lot 60.
lot-
Can you pull it up?
wait, let him speak, yeah.
Row and dimension?
It's lot,
63 is where the building starts.
okay, just tell me all the lots that are involved, category.
For the construction or the lots that are adjacent to our property?
All the lots that are in question.
Our development would be lot 34 and lot 46.
Why am I seeing a whole bunch of other lots here?
This is a tax map that shows you all of the surrounding properties.
Okay, so that blue line, that cuts.
I don't know what that blue line is, it's a city notation that they put on, this is an official
Okay.
map.
Are these graphics available anywhere on file that the public can view?
First of all, they're with the community board, they're with the Board of Standards and Appeals, and it's straight off of the city tax map.
Excuse me, I called the community board twice trying to get a hold of these plans. Twice I was told we don't have it. I asked one of the members, I asked one of the members of the board today, he hadn't seen it either. So you have a public hearing about a plan that no one saw. I called the BSA and I got a hold of something today. It's still missing the McDonald Avenue plan. Okay, if I could just,
I can
you know.
get you-
You can stop them, we'll try and copy them, they're just too big.
Well, I
for
called
what we
twice, they
have.
said you didn't even have them.
Well, you should have.
I called twice. I wanted to see them. I had to call, I was gonna go down.
You could have stopped it, absolutely, in the
Well,
future.
but I called and they said you didn't have them. When did you
I
get
have,
them?
I'm telling you, I have them, and I don't know why the staff gave them, but I will address it.
I thought it was wrong, so I called twice. He said, no, we don't have
You
that.
can
yet."
always ask for the manager. My name's
I
Laura.
apologize, when we file, we submit the entire package for the entire project to the community board. So they have a copy of it, and I'm happy to give you a copy as well.
If I might, you've had your time, and I appreciate it. By the way, I wish Morgan David loads of luck. It's a great school, an excellent school. Just to let you know, I think people get confused, if you don't mind. These are the corner lots that we're talking about. This is my house, and you have a schoolyard here and a yard up there. And the original building, I'm an old guy, I've been around a while, 100 years, actually, not me, but my family. But the original building ended here, and someone said it used to be a junkyard. It was a bank building. It was a factory a long time ago. And
And
then
the other building.
The other side.
It was a rental. It was a
it was a
rental.
lumber yard.
It rented tools. It wasn't a junkyard.
It was a lumber yard. It was never a junkyard.
No, I'm talking about the original building, the larger building,
It was a lumber yard. Fisher's lumber yard. But anyhow.
It was a lumberyard years ago.
All right, I think that's enough.
Okay.
Let's go on. Let's go on, folks.
I want to give you a little history lesson. The building only ended somewhere around here. And Citibank
Yeah.
extended it right up to the property line.
close the plan.
Yeah, please.
What? Oh, that's right.
I'll never be invited back.
Okay.
I'll give you assistant points, so you don't have.
Okay.
So we don't change that.
I promise I think. It ended here. And somewhere around the 70s, they decided to extend it 2 stories high. So they're doing exactly what you're doing now. My neighbor here, an immigrant with very little education, figured out the building code, wrote his letters. A few years later, Citibank, one of the biggest banks in the world, was forced to demolish this portion of that building to comply with the existing building code. The older portion of the building was covered by older building code. So what you're proposing is to do what they did unsuccessfully 40 years ago and take away the property rights of these two folks. And this guy a little bit, not to mention the other people around the building. And I've asked 2 real estate people, one of them says, sell right now before they build this, because you're gonna lose money. And it's not, he works for Manhattan. You're taking money out of people's pockets, it isn't fair. No consideration is being offered, it's just not fair. And I'm gonna be around, so I'm gonna try to stop it. We'll see what happens. So I wish David a lot of luck. I wish you find another location. Del Rio Diner was available. You got a place. Well, it was available a while ago, and there was some property on Village Road North currently available, 2.2 million.
I have a question for you. How many additional students will be in?
the capacity will go up about 240 kids
Okay.
at capacity.
Okay.
But again, the reason for this is because when we got approval, it was originally approved, the building as existed was originally approved for 500 students. Based on the changes in Department of Health requirements for Article 43 and Article 47, that dropped to where we are at today. So we need more space so that we can accommodate classrooms with larger square footage for our children. That's really the driving force.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. Mr. Goldstein, I severely appreciate you saying that these plans will be available for your office. I appreciate that. My question is, we live on Lake Street, and the parking is insane. So if there are more cars, therefore there are more parking. Many of the faculty at Megan David currently use Lake Street to park. Our parking is insane. How is this intending to be addressed?
Megan David historically has had lots for, can't accommodate all of the teachers, but they do have lots that accommodate a large chunk of teachers, and they're exploring options for additional lots for those teachers. Additionally, a lot of our teachers currently live in the immediate area and sort of walk into school, so as we increase the size, we're hopeful that that will continue. And finally, there is a lot of teachers that do make arrangements with the locals.
Yeah.
They can park in
I walked today on Lake Street from Kings Highway to Avenue S, or Avenue T. I didn't see one, I saw 2 cars parked in driveways. One was from the owner, maybe the other one's a teacher, maybe. And the other claim made in your filing is that there's a lot of teachers carpooling. Have you ever seen teachers, 3 or 4 teachers coming out of one? I have never seen it. I think it's a cost. You know, a lot of, the other thing we did was alternative sites. There were a lot of alternative sites that certainly was in the wherewithal to purchase. You're squeezing too many kids in one spot, and next year you're going to want another one. This is your 3rd one that you're pushing on the community. It's a great school. I wish you a lot of luck. Spread the wealth. You already have 3 campuses.
I understand.
One more.
Next, is there anybody who has an
Yes, my husband.
Okay, well, this gentleman has his hand up, and then your husband. Okay, there you go. He sees the floor to you, and then you. And then the
Megan
gentleman.
David is a wonderful school. Education is very important. Now, you give them the changes for the various, give them permission to do whatever they want to do, right?
Well, it's not whatever they want to do, it's exactly
Yeah,
what they
but
want to do.
we also
Nothing
know,
more.
when you get that permission, Megan David is going to want to grow. Where are they growing? He mentioned students in the public park. Okay? That was from one school. If you don't have enough children, right, to park, that the people who live there can't even go in there. But Megan David have to have their children in recess, and they need it, right? Your crack security tells them to leave a public park.
I can't speak to that, and I will have a discussion.
I understand that,
It's
but
not.
but what we're trying to do is, we're expanding. And once you get that, I'm telling you, Megan David, after this, is gonna wanna expand more. That's their memo. That's what they're gonna wanna do. Where are you gonna go? What you're doing here is forcing people to leave their homes after many years. Why?
That's not our intention. Our
No,
intention.
I'm not saying it's your intention, but that's how it's coming down.
It's a side
And you
effect
know
of what
it.
you're doing.
And you know it.
So, we have another question?
Jeff,
I wanted to ask you something like, oh, sorry.
Jeff, okay. Jeff,
The building 34, which is the building that's existing now, the roof is not being used.
What?
Is the roof being used? right?
Not currently.
Not currently, okay? You plan to use it,
If it is approved by DEP.
okay? How are you gonna protect whoever's on the roof from the drains?
That's what we discussed before, that we're having sound barrier fences.
I'm not talking about sound area, I'm talking about debris that comes off of the tracks.
So it's set back from, it's not on McDonald Avenue, it's set back from McDonald Avenue with high fences.
It's on McDonald Avenue. No,
Yeah.
because I've seen debris come off the tracks from the B line, all right, on buildings like that are recessed. question is, on 46 is where you're gonna build the 5-story, correct? Is that gonna be attached to the original building?
Yes.
So you don't have to come out and go in?
That's the intention. We want to provide these extra services to the main existing building to allow the students from that existing building to access the gym, the sensory gym, without having to come outside.
But, you know, that's an issue with this, with the roof.
I want to just ask you on the map there, I'm sure maps, this is, only even for this 10th grade map. Right here, these two spots, right? That's you,
The
the
spot,
right?
that corner there.
How far back is it gonna be from the back of the house?
It's going to go to our lot line, so
Which is how far from their house?
how deep is your rear yard? Start.
You mean to my house?
Yeah, from your house to your rear lot line.
I would say about 20 feet, I suppose. It's not big. Now, by the way, you plan to say...
So that means he'll still have 20 feet of open space before your new building starts there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but
I would
no
also
light,
like
no
to
air.
add to that
No
point.
brick wall.
I'm sorry? I'd also like to add to that point, as of right, the school can build a 1-story extension in both corners
So build
up
it.
to 23 feet.
Build it, God bless you.
Up to 23 feet. So the 23 feet can be there as of right. What we're trying to do is maximize that space by creating 2 floors instead of 1.
But, right now, I have a wall on one side, I have a high fence on the other side, so basically my backyard will be a canyon. Who's gonna wanna buy that house? The only thing you grow there is mushrooms. The other thing I wanna mention, right now your dismissal is on McDonald Avenue. Is that gonna continue, or is it gonna go to Avenue T as well?
It's expected to continue on McDonald.
Now, you did promise this community that you would only have dismissals on McDonald Avenue. I guess you
On
want
the other building.
Right.
But this building as well, because it only enters.
Right. And you're gonna keep that promise, right? Only McDonald Avenue?
Correct.
And you wouldn't want to break that promise, would you?
For this building.
Okay,
no,
can you
I can't.
explain to me why in 2017, your school applied to the Bureau of Standards and Appeals to have dismissals on Lake Street that I never knew about until I just happened to spot it on the internet?
I can't because I wasn't involved.
You aren't a lawyer. Well, in fact, some of the
What
the
year?
board.
What year? 2003?
This is 2017.
I was
You're
a
still
lawyer,
in CUNY
just
Law
not-
School, okay. No.
I was done with Brooklyn Law School.
Good for
I was a
you.
lawyer already, but I wasn't working for
Well,
this.
that, so promises from this particular institution, they're great to their students, but to the community, not so good. That was a big thing. I spoke to a few neighbors, what? They wouldn't do that. The mess that's on McDonald Avenue, they tried to perpetrate upon Lake Street. Are they gonna do that again? They withdrew the application.
They can't do that.
We have the administrator here.
They can't do that on this property because this property doesn't have access.
Okay, well, we're talking about, Madden Day was one big institution.
Have the administrator here, right? You administer for that building as well?
The only thing that we use Lake Street for is a fire drill.
Well, of course.
That's it.
Right, but in
No,
2017, you applied
excuse
to.
me. I live on Lake Street.
One second,
I
one
live
at a
on Lake Street.
time, one at a
Outside
time.
of this fire drill, there were times there was a dog on McDonald Avenue. They were releasing their students, right?
On Lake Street.
On Lake Street. Now, the fire drill, I understand. I don't care.
I can't speak to the other building. I can speak to this building.
Well, it's one institution.
It is, but it isn't. So we can say that we're not, and I don't know if we are or not using Lake Street, but if it's in the resolution.
Nobody in my neighborhood knew about this.
Well, that was from 2017. I don't.
Yeah, let's discuss the Lake Forest, discuss the building that we're at.
I think it's relevant because as far as promises being made by this institution, the fact that they tried to go back on a major league promise, a major concession that they made.
We have to
is
vote on a
irrelevant.
specific item, we can only discuss the item we're gonna vote on, you know?
But we don't know what the board of
Understood.
standards and
But
appeals.
remember, the community board, right? You're supposed to be
No, I'm
board
saying
with
we
the
don't know
community,
what they.
not just one individual.
But all I'm saying is just discussing the issue.
I know.
That forced the vote.
Right, we can only discuss
This
what the
gentleman right here has
application.
had his hands up for a while, so please.
You go back to the slide where you have the steps, facing 49.
So that's a secondary egress from Avenue T.
Okay, you mentioned trash. Is the trash going to be
Right behind my house.
Avenue or in
No,
the
the trash is not right behind your house. The trash is inside the building in the cellar. There's a refrigerated trash room. And where is trash picked up right now? On McDonald. Continue to be picked up on McDonald. So they bring it over to 2170.
Okay, now will those steps be used as a
That will not.
entrance and exit?
They will not use the staircase A, which is on MUT, because in order to maneuver through that staircase to get out with trash will be impossible. They'll use the entrance on McDonald and the trash.
Besides the trash, is that gonna be used as an entrance and an exit?
As of now, I don't believe so, because it's a secondary means of egress through a staircase.
How high would that be opening the?
How high will it be?
Is that just gonna be steps leading to the outside? Is it attached to, is there a building that with steps out?
It's inside the building. No, the staircase is inside the building.
So that's all
There's a
inside.
staircase on grade that goes
All
up
inside, that's, I won't see those steps, it's just the wall.
All right, well, thank you, and again, if any information that you need available, contact the community board. If there are any comments that you want to leave in writing that you didn't think of,
I have a question. Does the committee vote at this point, or how does it?
the
what's
committee will
process?
have a committee meeting, and the committee will.
Community board is gonna have a meeting on the 8th of June.
Thank you.
No, that's our general meeting.
Thank you. So,
That's our
yes, the
general-
community board will have a meeting on the 8th of June, where we will,
Yeah, the board has to vote.
where the board will vote on
On
the
the 8th.
committee's
Yeah.
recommendation.
When does the committee vote on it?
The committee will meet shortly after this meeting.
Is
Well, I'm gonna
the
ask the
committee
committee now
to
what they
be
want.
there, or is the public committee to be to attend?
No, it's not.
No.
The committee meeting's not a public meeting.
Okay, can you represent to me that there will not be garbage behind my house? Because that's the way I'm reading this plan.
Correct. There's no way for the
Committee
garbage
members,
to
I'm gonna leave the choice up to you. Do you wanna stay here tonight?
You can stay for
discuss
the
this,
meeting,
vote?
but it's all, but
Or do you
we
wanna
don't
do it on
recognize
June
the public
7th
during
when
the
we do
meeting.
carbon?
Let's do it tonight.
Let's do it tonight. All right, we'll stay. We'll stay.
Is there anybody, I know we're gonna be saying vote. So this is an issue that's all over, not just here at this point. We have a lot of people developing, and what happens is the people that were here for a long time are really being encroached, and I understand both sides, again. But the issue is, was there a thought about alternatives more for the children? Because early childhood, they don't need to be in such an industrial area. I know, like, places that you have access to. There is money out there, and there are places where it must be much better for children as a space, a green space. Rethink, perhaps, where else you could put the additional rooms, or perhaps the adjacent building that you're not part of can give you some of that space, and they can go somewhere.
So that's
It just
a
doesn't
landmark
seem
building that we can't.
right for the children. I'm not even discussing what's right for the property owners behind you, but for the little ones, especially early childhood and those that need early intervention, they need much better resources than what you're offering as a building. Think about that as administrators. I know, I'm very adamant that little children should not be in a place like
Okay,
that.
so let's move on. Let's move on, because
I
that's
have to say that, that's my fault.
said, but
I
that's
had
not-
to say it.
But that's not
And
what
you
we're
have a
voting on.
conscience.
Okay, do we have a motion from one of our, committee members to close the public meeting? Second. Seconded by Jeff. All in favor? Opposed?
So now this is the committee meeting to discuss. So, thoughts?
And just to be clear, during the committee meeting, we'll hear from committee members, we will not hear from the public. Public, of course, will be heard at the next community board meeting, which we do next.
Could I ask Mr. Goldstein something?
We'll talk.
You can talk privately with
Yeah,
him,
I'll stick
you can
around.
talk privately,
This is
but
their
right now, no
property.
one else, that's the
That's
committee's to discuss. So, what did you want people's thoughts here? Jeff? Jeff, what's your thoughts?
What's my thought?
What's your thoughts?
I don't agree with what's going on.
Okay.
First of all, they're building what we technically wouldn't look consistent. And my thought is using the roof, kids,
Okay, but that's not before us. The roof part is not before us. The roof part has to be approved by DOT.
Lori,
This is
can you
not-
just lay out, sorry, before everyone, lay out exactly what we're voting on? Because I think we've
Yes.
heard a lot of discussion about
Yes,
other
about
things,
playing
green
areas.
spaces,
We're
which
not voting on that,
anyway.
but we're not voting
So
on
let's
that.
lay out
It's part of
exactly what we have to
that.
vote on so there's clarity. It's
But we're
not.
not voting
It's
on that.
voting on changing the zoning for a building to make it bigger and hurting the neighbors around
Send
them.
the EPS to.
Okay, what we're voting on, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is to make a recommendation to the board and then to move to the next step regarding the current building, a setback, some yard changes, and the second one on Avenue T is basically going up 5 floors. We're not voting on whether they're able to use the roof or not able to use the roof. It's variance in terms of size, setback, and use. So that's what we're voting on, and it's encoded in these 2 applications. And there were a lot of questions here just from members of the, not my member of the committee too. So I just want to make sure a couple of things are clear and of concern. Again, you may have said this before. Entrances primarily are foreseen to be on McDonald Avenue and egress. Staggered pickups and drop-offs, particularly to alleviate effects on Lake Street.
So alleviate effects on everything.
Everything. Okay, and we don't expect garbage anywhere but where it's supposed to be.
Garbage will be maintained in the cellar until
Inside the building.
Inside the building in the cellar until pickup day, when it will be brought over to the through the entrances.
So is the committee good on what we're voting on?
Well, one of the no parking signs for no standing school days, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the S to about mid-block, and then 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. mid-block to Avenue T.
Okay, so and the school days being Sunday through Friday except the summer and holidays.
Correct. Sundays, holidays, Sabbath.
That's like every school.
That's every
And
school.
it has, there's about 800 feet of frontage on McDonald that has no
That's
standing.
every school.
Yeah, that's every school. Well, the committee is meeting right now, so if you want to get up and talk to them privately, you know, feel free to do that.
So can I,
Yeah.
You know, since he mentioned about the meeting time, I just wanted to know, do you have, like, I'm in a public school, I teach. So basically, we do have evening things that go on. Do you expect to have twice a year? Do you have any idea? Do you have
aside from
evening
Aside from parent
activities?
teachers conference, this is a school for 20-month-olds to 4-year-olds. I don't anticipate them coming.
But you don't use the building for other events? You don't have
Spaces-
fundraisers, nothing?
No, the program spaces that are proposed are not large enough to handle production or whatever else you have. Those will be handled in other locations in the other buildings.
So in the evening, everything is shut down, no more? Okay.
Good.
So what questions do we have among ourselves
I'm gonna,
before we
so-
go for a vote?
Okay, so to me, it seems like, I mean, I live in a neighborhood which is very similar to this one, you know, Bensonhurst. 2-story houses are pretty standard. Everyone has that. I think that, you know, once we're going above 2, you know, people can listen. Right here, what we're talking about is filling in the yard, 2 stories. You know, I look out at a 2-story building in my yard. There's, you know, a gentleman behind the lot is still gonna have 20 feet from his home to the property line, which is 2 stories, not higher than that. It seems pretty reasonable to me. Again, whatever issues are out with the roof that has to be cleared by environmental, that's the issue with the school. I think the school is at least as concerned about their children as the community board is, not that it wasn't dangerous. It's not the issue before us. Just taking a yard that's on the school's lot right now, extending it to their property line, which is still 20 feet from the homes behind it, I think is very reasonable, and I'm on this one.
Thank you.
Marty, I can just say, I'm a graduate of Maggie David from 1975. It's an unbelievable institution. I happen to be living in the same house
That's irrelevant.
that I grew up in.
Jeff, did you have anything to add after you heard the rest of it? I'm sorry. I just wanted to, Jeff, I want to go back to.
Let him finish.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just saying that I think Maggie David is an unbelievable institution, and I believe that they care about community, and I believe that they will honor everything that they promise they're going to do for the community, because our community is just doing nothing but exploding, and property values will only go up in our area. So, that's my comment.
I don't think it's a question of the
Yes.
school, the integrity, or the reputation. But it's
Okay,
the
no,
larger
so-
buildings that you're building around. all these other
This is
schools.
It's not a discussion, not a
board only.
discussion.
You're welcome to discuss it after I have a say.
That's what it's about.
Okay. Jeff, do you brought up after.
I think by right, they're looking to expand Nation Point a new area to replace the existing building and to be able to, build a large
Well,
building.
they're already there, they already have footprints there. So that was, to me, that doesn't make, sense business-wise.
But it was mentioned, it was mentioned that, the gentleman is gonna have 20 feet in there. It's not clear. All right? Because
It's 2
you're
stories,
building a
though.
wall. You're building a wall.
It's Brooklyn, 2 stories is
Yeah,
clear.
but no, what he was saying was that there's 20 feet from his house to the property line, and then the 2-story building.
That's right.
So
All right.
that's
It doesn't affect
It's
his
not like
area.
right
It's not
above
blocking
his
the
house.
sunlight, it's 2 stories.
Yes, it does.
No, but you don't.
How many
but
feet
you're
are
not
the 2
gonna get the
stories?
same sunlight you do if there's nothing there. All right?
How many feet are the 2 stories? The 2-story, to clarify, how many feet are the 2 stories?
2-story extension is gonna be 24 feet, and as I mentioned, 23 feet. 1 story is as of right.
So he has
So
24.
as of right, they can build already on that spot.
So he has 20 feet, then it's 24 feet high. I mean, this is Brooklyn, we're not talking, it's not like the plains of Texas.
Change the building code. Change the building code.
That's what we're gonna do.
Okay, well, that's another, we can't change the building code. So what we're basically gonna be voting on is the wall that's 1 foot taller than what we have, right? So, anyone who's on the committee have any further questions? Well, I guess
But they already could go 1 story, that they're going
on
2
slide
stories.
4,
Yeah, we would,
Is this gonna be a new building, or are you just gonna add on, what's there is a 3-story building right there now, correct?
It's gonna be a new building.
Corner's gonna be new.
It's a new building. Yes, new
But
building.
the other buildings are just the corners.
Right, before we call the vote, let me say that we would fully expect Mike and David and anybody that comes before the board to be good neighbors in their construction and do everything they're supposed to do, especially vis-a-vis the neighbors that are budding while you're doing construction, either the fire department buildings required and all the other requirements that are required to keep other people's property safe during the construction, and to otherwise be considerate neighbors.
Put that into the.
That would,
Right.
that is part of any, if there's a positive recommendation, the recommendation has to include, the
We're fine with that. We're fine to commit to that.
I'm gonna say,
So-
can I just say, Eileen is correct, and I'm with Jeffrey too, because what you're doing is, you're setting a precedence. You're also, you have original people who have lived there and know what their home looked like, and now you're infringing on their original rights. What, you're adding more, not just the traffic, but you're adding more children to where if they don't get the approval to have an open space, they're gonna be using public parks, and what this young man was, this person was telling me, was like, other people aren't allowed to use the park because it's become only access to the. That's what I heard, so I need some clarification about that.
Yeah, the law says if you don't have a child with you, you can't enter a park alone.
That's not true, just a playground.
The
Well,
playground area.
Excuse me, what about two senior
let's not go
citizens?
there.
You're
So-
telling me they can't go into a public park
So,
and sit on a bench?
I don't know where everybody
Can
is.
I just ask you one other thing?
As of right,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I apologize, as of right, we can assume that they're going to be building, Mac David's gonna be building to 23 feet. They can, we can assume that they will, as of right now, without any approval.
That's correct.
On those 2 buildings.
So we're
And right now, they're asking us for the 1 foot.
Right,
So that they can put 2 floors.
so I think at any level that.
I
That's what
just-
we're,
I'm sorry.
that's
I just
essentially.
want to point out one thing. I think it's important to mention this: the school's not a business. We talk a lot of times when we have different meetings about somebody says like, "Oh, you want to build more? There's not enough room to handle the kids in the school." Or what are we going to do? Public schools are bursting. We're talking here about a private school, which again means fewer kids that are in public schools, and it means that we talk all the time about
not enough room in schools. We're talking about a school expansion. We're not talking about a for-profit entity, which I think is much more scrutiny here. Childcare, 2 stories. I think this, a building in Brooklyn being lower than 2 stories is a luxury. I don't think someone can complain about air rights or sun rights for having 2 stories, 24 feet. It's pretty. I look at it 2 stories, 24 feet. I mean, behind my house, I really don't see
I just want to remind everybody, and CB members should know this already, we're advisory, so whatever our recommendation is, whatever the board votes on, it goes in front of BSA, BSA, I don't know honestly and truly how much they take our vote and recommendation in, so just to point that out to everyone that we are advisory, so.
Okay, with that, is there anything else from the committee members, or does someone want to call the vote? Make a motion.
I do want to say something to the people that are here, because I see someone who obviously had a hard time getting here. As a community, again, I really understand, and I know that an education is very important, but I'm thinking that something has to be done in our society to really be able to open up to thinking about all sides. And if there was a possibility to come into, I'm not saying you cannot expand, of course you have the right to 24, but if you can be considerate about how you're affecting your neighbors, that's all I think is important to do, right? And there are so many situations in the city. I talk to other people on community boards. We don't really have much power. I hate to tell you this. We're having this, it's really not us. And what happens, even in Community Board 15, downtown Brooklyn, where I have a lot of friends on community boards, we don't have the power. You know who has the power? The people who have the money and have the connections to City Hall. Many in the past have been bought out. Much of this development has been bought out. We know that. There is something not right. But I'm asking most of you who have a conscience to do the right thing. We all have to do the right thing. For the neighbors that were here originally, and if for the young children that are coming in.
So, anybody on the committee, would anyone like to make a motion whether for or against? Did you want to say something?
No, we're supposed to make a recommendation.
Call the vote. Well, it needs to be a motion.
Motion for who?
What's your motion?
Yes.
To approve.
Yes.
Committee members, Sal seconds.
No.
So on the committee, who's in favor of the motion to approve? Yeah,
Favor.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
Okay. Who is in favor? Who is in opposition to the motion? I have 3.
The rubber stamp out.
3 abstentions. So the yeas have it, so it goes to the board as a recommendation to approve.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming out.
With all the expectations that we mentioned.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The board has to close the meeting.
Can I have a motion proposed from the committee? Eileen, followed by Jeff. All in favor? Aye, all opposed? Abstentions? That's carried out.
I know who the ones that matter.